I'm going to show you how to do a basting stitch. This is a basting stitch. It's a very basic stitch. I have a piece of fabric folded in half, so it's holding that together. All right. You can see that it's pretty much the same on one side as it is the other, which is not always the case with stitches. The basting stitch is a basic and a temporary stitch. So I would use this if I were sewing something together and in place of pinning it, I would baste it together with thread instead. So basting is pinning with thread in its most basic essence. I have my piece of fabric here. I have two pieces of fabric actually. Okay, they are pinned together. Also, if you take a look, I have a very light line drawn in pencil. That's my guideline. It can be very tricky when you're hand sewing to sew completely straight, even for experienced stitchers. So it's okay to draw a very light line in pencil in order to use it as a guideline when you are practicing your basting stitch. I am right-handed, so I will be sewing from the right side of my fabric to the left side of my fabric. If you are left-handed, feel free to, it's probably preferential that you sew from the left side of your fabric to the right side of your fabric. I do already have my thread anchored, so I'm going to start by taking my needle and putting it through both layers of fabric. And I'm putting it about 5/8 inches away from my anchor. I'm going to pull my thread all the way through. All right. And then the next stitch is going to come up through the other side of the fabric, right on that guideline that I've drawn. This will probably take a little bit of practice. Okay, there it is, all the way through my fabric. And then I'm going to pull my thread up and bring all of the slack through my fabric. And that is how I'm going to proceed to do the basting stitch. I'm making my stitches about 5/8 of an inch. You could do them anywhere from 3/8 to, you do 3/8, you could do 1/2 inch, you could do 5/8. I wouldn't go any bigger than 5/8 of an inch. Pull it through, go down through your guideline, pull the fat thread all the way through. Okay, and then you'll come back up, and you will proceed to do this all the way along your guideline until you have your two pieces of fabric attached as you need them to be. So in this case, it's the entire 10 inches that I'm shooting for. Okay. Now, you'll notice that the stitch is pretty much the same on one side as it is the other. Okay, that's what you're aiming for. Also, you might find if you're pulling your thread a little tight, you could find that your fabric's gathering up a little bit. You probably don't want that happening because this is not a gathering stitch, it's just a basting stitch. So if that happens, gently pull your fabric so it straightens out, flattens out again. If you push it toward where you have sewn last, it usually releases the tension so you don't have any more gathers. And that is how you make a basting stitch.